Good time of the day for everyone today who joined us. I'm very appreciative that you decided to spend your time today with us. And as women needs water, water also needs women. That's why we are holding today the webinar with the title "Empowering Women in Water," specifically perspectives from the Asia, Pacific, and region. My name is Ludmila Odut. I'm a part of IWA's specialist group on sustainability in the water sector. And I'm happy to co-moderate this event. Overall, I'm involved in this group within the other activities, in particular as SDGs or other topics like indigenous water perspectives. But women in water was the longest topic what I've been involved, and I'm happy to be here today. And yes, first of all, happy Women International Day. I will co-moderate this event with Nurhayati Abdullah, and I would kindly ask her to introduce herself.
Assalamu alaikum and a very good afternoon. Thank you, Ludmila. Very happy to meet everyone today. Happy International Women's Day. And similarly with Ludmila, I have been the longest serving moderator and also co-host of the Empowering Women in Water webinar alongside the team of the IWA Specialist Group. Thank you so much for joining us, and you will be with me and Ludmila throughout the session. Over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Nurhayati. I will stop a bit on the logistics of this webinar, so it will be recorded and those who and made available on demand on IWA Connect platform. Those who missed, maybe because of time zones, you can, of course, review it afterwards. Due to copyrights, we say that speakers are responsible for securing copyrights and permission in case if they are presenting something, but this webinar will be most likely storytelling. So, and the opinions, hypotheses, conclusions, and recommendations contained in the presentations and other materials are the sole responsibility of the speakers. It's not necessarily reflect the IWA opinion. In terms of usual things like chat box or Q&A box, we ask you to use chat box mostly for general requests, or if you want to introduce yourself, share some of your contacts for further collaboration or interaction with the topic. Yes, please go ahead. And in particular Q&A box, we would like to ask you to use for questions for the panelists, which they will be able to respond during the Q&A sessions or during the discussions later. A few words about our specialist group. So specialist group Sustainability in the Water Sector, we have a very particular mission to encourage and support sustainable use of water. Our goal is to highlight the use of water, not specifically from the technical or economic perspectives, but also from social, environmental, and other aspects, as well as to try to make our support to make our environments more sustainable for current co-residents of future generations. In particular, we work within the four directions, such as sustainable use of water by industry, sustainable development goals, or digital worker, or professional development and training. In terms of specifically topic women in water, we started our journey since 2021, having an international webinar, and continued with regional ones in Latin America and the Caribbean, Africa, and currently we will be concluding this series with Asia and Pacific region. Having all of this event, we got the idea to compile all of the voices and thoughts and challenges or the solutions from women we've been engaged with into the book, and it will be published in a free access, in the open access, I think in mid-April. And with our future plans, I would say we're aiming to work on developing professional materials to increase and to strengthen the work of women and men in water industry together, and to make it like more effective and more collaborative. If to talk specifically about the region, I think many of us know, or maybe some doesn't know, that women across Asia and the Pacific, they are primary users and managers of households' water on a daily basis. However, women are rarely involved in decisions relating to water policies or strategies or water resource management or technology choices. So they are missing in key areas of water-related decision making. Huge area of Asia currently face water crisis. It's caused by urbanization, by over-abstraction of groundwater, climate change, and in particular Pacific, they may have some issues with access into drinking water facilities due to geographic isolation, due to limited human and technical capacity or gender inequality. So obviously, there is an urgent need to advance women's participation in decision making and to fill the gap, what we might need in the current challenges and the future challenges in the water sector. And I believe all of we've invited speakers for today from the variety parts of the region, and it will be very valuable to hear their perspectives, lessons learned, and the suggestions connected to the topic. Overall, today we will have two panels with the following Q&A sessions, and let me move with the first panelist. I'm happy to introduce today Nupur Bahadur being our panelist. She's a senior fellow and associate director from the Energy and Resources Institute. She obtained a PhD in chemistry in 2005 from Indian Institute of Technology, Roorkee, and has like about 23 years of work experience. She worked in advanced oxidation photocatalysis, wastewater treatment, and water use, and a variety of thematics. And I also would like to stress that she is vice chair of IWA India, and in particular, within the topic, she was featured amongst 10 Indian watershed heroes by Red Dot Foundation and UN Women. So I think she's quite valuable women expert, and I would like to ask if having all of those experience working with innovation, technology development and demonstration, with capacity building and consultancy, and being in a numerous committees, what can be the secret like to balance work life and family life? Did you have any challenges with that anytime? I think myself and all of the participants will be really happy to hear your experience and advices.
Thank you for having me here, IWA, and I wish a happy International Women's Day to all lovely women in the water sector and out of it. And we all are here to share our experiences. So, as the question posed to me, yes, I'm happy and glad to have had so many roles and so many work domains. But we have to understand that all these doesn't come all together. These comes at different stages of our life and career. So when we are young, when we are into research, early stages of research, we are just the research scholars. When we enter into job, we are young professionals, we are into learning stages. And then as we grew in our career, mid-career and more, then we take on the advanced roles. And then comes different roles of teaching, guiding, capacity building. With implementation comes the role of policy advocacy. So the my main point I would like to emphasize here is that all this comes on its own pace in life and career. So we should just focus at the one time, one activity. So this is something. And when you we are asked about the secret of balancing the life and career, so there is no hidden secret. Only thing is we have to prioritize in our life and career. We can't be perfect at all times in all our roles at a time. So when you are young in your career, of course, the families are also young, children are young. So our time is more into family, bringing, nurturing with the growing stages of children. And as we progress in our career, mid career, then children also grow up and now they are quite independent and into college and this way. So things automatically, life takes you, provided you keep that focus, you have that will in you, you have that ecosystem always ready uh, in place. And of course, as the question is the challenges, of course, everybody, and I also had my share of challenges. And particularly when it comes to developing country like India, and when the conventional mindset is there, it is teaching is the most preferred choice for girls and ladies. So I was actually, I would say, more pushed towards teaching, but somehow undergraduate teaching was not my cup of tea. I was more into advanced research, technology development, innovation. I had some big projects or vision in my mind. I was influenced by the national missions and I really wanted to contribute in nation building. So those were my ideas. And it took many years for me to come out of. First, you have to convince yourself, then your immediate family, and then only you can convince the world. And this is my secret. Where I convinced myself, I learned a lot. And as a water professional, I'm a chemist by training and qualification, and I was into teaching. And all these years have taken for me, one has to prepare yourself with diversification from basic sciences to advanced nanotechnology to water research, water technology, and today talking water process engineering, also technopreneurial roles, intellectual property agreements, and all. So it's a whole learning experience. So women should be ready to learn as you grow in your career. As different role comes, one should be able to learn and grow with the responsibilities. And a few suggestions I would like to share with young water professional, young girls, that first of all, uh, we have to prioritize in life and career. And there are times, so it's always, I call it as a, I learned car, I drive car. So it's always like a gear, how you want to put. If you want to move, you have to have a gear. And as per the priority, if you have exams, then you can focus more for the children. And somehow after 2 to 3 weeks, you can focus more on the work. So this way I make a balancing act in my career and family. Then I prioritize things. And also, we have to have a robust ecosystem in place, both at workplace and both in the family as well. The support system, everything should be in place. And we should trust our caretakers and caregivers. And we should make our own children so much self dependent that they can take care of themselves. And we are very much aware and comfortable that okay, they are taking good care. And also one thing, generally we young mothers face is that when we are more into family ways or into family, we generally give up our dreams. But I have realized during my own journey that a mother also has one life of her own. She also has her dreams. She has also given that those 15, 20 years of career. So she just can't put it everything away just because now she's a mother. So I would suggest all such young ladies, young mothers, that balance your work, prioritize your work, and don't give up to your dreams. Find your ways. Certainly, when there is a will, there is a way. And as a water professional, I have grown and contributed in national missions with my technology endeavors. I've taken right stakeholders from the beginning, both the government and industry, researchers, policy, everybody. So, this is another message I would like to give, that in your chosen domain, whatever it is, take all stakeholders together and have a robust, a very reliable team with you, so that you can follow up on your dreams, and you can work and make your career and mark in your career which you choose to undertake. This is all from my side.
Thank you, Nupur.
Thanks a lot.
I'm totally agree that it's quite a complex thing to manage that, right? There should be understanding and support from family. There should be some kind of provision from the employee. There should be, I mean, many things to be taken into account. So yeah, I think you try to. I mean, you already did like great job like in this. And it's a great like you sharing that.
Thank you. And I suppose I have taken a little late in life, because in general, I think with the developing countries and all, we women, we ourselves take time to understand that actually what we want to do. So I started my water professional journey just 10 years ago, when I was just striking nearly 40, if not now, then when. So you have to realize what is your passion, what you actually wants to do, and it is a high time you have to realize and act fast. So I really work day in and day out to realize my dreams and still following and pursuing my passion.
Yeah, sure. I still like wish you good luck with the future plans. What you have, either it's connected to career, family. I hope everything
Yeah.
will work out. We'll be moving to our next speaker.
Thank you so much.
Thank you to. We're happy to invite Gillian Blitty to to this webinar. She's representing New Zealand. Currently, she's Chief Executive of Water New Zealand. She has a master's in water resource and environmental economics, and also she joined Water New Zealand as a Chief Executive in July 2020. Before, she was also working in Meridian Energy in different positions. And following this, I would like to ask, being on managerial roles and positions such as head of strategy, head of regulatory affairs roles, and currently you are chief executive. What was your path for career growth? What can you say important for career advancement, and what can be your advice for younger generations, and I believe maybe even for everyone, of course.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm Kia ora from New Zealand. I started my career in London. I had trained in economics, as you've mentioned, and I worked for an economics consultancy specializing in electricity and electricity markets around the world. And I had the opportunity in my mid-20s to come to New Zealand to take part in a particular project that was looking at restructuring the monopoly electricity generator and creating a competitive market. And so I lived here for 7 weeks, and that was a great experience, and I really enjoyed it. And whilst I was here, one of the people I was working with asked me if I would like to have a year working in New Zealand. And I guess fundamentally at that point, I wasn't sure if that was the right decision or not. And I had to make that decision about whether I should leave the UK and I should go and have a year in New Zealand. And when I tried to make that decision, you know, what I was very conscious of, and I now look at it in different eyes. I was thinking, when I get to 60, I didn't want to get to 60 and think, should I have gone? I didn't want to get to 60 and think, maybe I didn't make the right decision. You know, and as I sit here in this webinar now at 55, a lot closer to 60 than I was in my mid-20s, you know I made the right decision. And so I guess one of the pieces that I would like to say to those of you, and this applies to anybody, not just to women, is always think about the decisions that you need to make as a, will I regret it if I don't do it? One of the other things that I would say in terms of my career advancement has been that certainly during my time as head of regulatory affairs, I had 2 children. I've got 2 boys, and now in their late teenage years. But I certainly wanted to be able to spend more time with them when they were young. And so I didn't work full time. I worked 4 days a week so that I could spend and try and balance my life and my work-life balance, and being a mother. I mean, I recognize, and I suspect my children do as well, that I am probably a better mother when I've got my work-life balance, and I'm probably a better employee, a better staff member, a better manager when I've also got that combination right. I would also, in terms of the career advancement, I put my hand up a couple of times for chief executive roles before I got the role as chief executive of Water New Zealand. And I wasn't successful. And I look back on those experiences and the decisions that those boards took in not appointing me. And it has been good to reflect and to realize that I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready in my own self, and I wasn't ready in terms of what my understanding of what a board needs from a chief executive. And so I learned through that experience. I learned that I needed to be clearer about what I was offering. And I needed to be clearer about what my vision was for the organization that I was wanting to lead. And so I think those sort of moments when you get to pause and to reflect mean that when you do put your hand up, that you are far more likely to be selected, because you know you will have understood what's required. And so I guess in terms of, you know, another message would be, don't be afraid of putting your hand up. And it's not just in terms of the chief executive roles, but it's any role which is a different one to the one you've got, whether it's a sideways move or it's a step up the career ladder, is understand what you bring to that role and accept what you do not bring, and be clear about where you need to have support and advice. Because I think when you have that humility of being able to say, I can do these, you know, these things, but I can't do that one or that or the other one, that is something that is appreciated in terms of that honesty and that ability for someone to say, as you know, as the person who's making a decision on appointing you, they have a good understanding of their skill sets. And that's something I think is always a good thing, to be able to know what you're good at, know where you need help.
Thank you, Gillian. I think, yeah, like how to say it correct, internal strengths, right? Internal inspiration, and let's say not to be afraid to risk, to try new things is very important for us, right? So we still, I mean, if we don't do any step, we will not see what this road will bring to us, right? So we still need to try. Yeah, thank you very much for your presentation. Thank you. And we will move to we will move to China, and we have Xia Hongguan. She's Distinguished Professor of East China Normal University and the Associate Dean of the School of Ecological and Environmental Science. She's a recipient of the National Science Fund for Distinguished Young Scholars, and she was selected for the World's Top 2% Science in the year 2022 and 2023. Xie Hong, you have so many awards. You participated in a lot of committees and activities in the water industry. We are wondering what will be your advice of having like a great mentor. Was it about like yourself, or you also had a mentor? What can you say about the importance of mentorship? And was your mentor like men, women, or can you please share your experiences about that?
Okay, thank you very much for offering me this opportunity to talk with you. Hello to everyone. Happy Women's Day from Xia Hongguan. Yeah, certainly mentorship plays a crucial role in academic and professional development, especially for me. I have indeed benefited from the mentorship throughout my academic career. And I also take on the role of mentoring with a focus on supporting women in academia. Today, I would like to talk about the stories between my supervisor, a man, and me to show the importance of mentorship. During my doctoral studies, my initial dissertation topic proved untenable after 10 months of work. Hereafter, I selected a topic by myself. I deeply appreciated the freedom from my advisor allowed me in this important decision. This new direction required me to independently learn vast amounts of chemical knowledge, which laid solid foundations for my independent academic career. The second thing is that my advisor painstakingly revised my first paper until none of sentences in my original draft remained in the published version. I really appreciated his help. Upon completing my PhD degree in 2005 and briefly working in the United States, I returned to mainland China in January 2006, choosing a position at a not well-known university for family reasons. This decision led to unexpected challenges. In August 2006, my advisor invited me to an international conference in Hong Kong organized by himself. He introduced me to potential postdoctoral mentors, which redirected my career path towards a postdoctoral position and then a faculty position in Harbin Institute of Technology, which is a very top university in China. Another thing is that after facing repeated rejections of my natural science fund applications, I was disheartened until attending another conference organized by advisor in Hong Kong in 2008. And there I met Professor Chen Xie, another male professor. He shared invaluable grant application insights with me. Because of his help, I was awarded a natural science funding in 2009. Hereafter, I have been awarded another 7 natural science funding research fundings. In fact, nowadays, I'm very, very busy because I'm helping many women researchers in China, especially in the field of environmental science and engineering, to polish their research funding applications. In sum, I think mentoring is very important for my academic achievements. My supervisor not only helped me a lot when I was a student, but also offered many opportunities to me even after I started my career as an independent researcher. Yeah, so for me, I want to help other female professors, including my own students and other people, and to help them to grow, because I have got many help from other professors. Yeah, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Xiao Hong. I believe you really was lucky and still lucky to have this type of supervisors, because it's not always happens like that. So I wish this for everyone. And with this, we will conclude the first panel and we'll move to the Q&A session.
Thank you, Ludmila, and thank you to all of the awesome speakers, Dr. Nupur, Gillian, and Professor Zhao Hong, on all of your reflections on the questions given. Let's move on to the Q&A session. I have a couple of questions here, but for Dr. Nupur, we would like for you to touch upon a little bit on cultural changes, because you mentioned you receive robust support system at home, and we are wondering, how did you prioritize between work and family, whereby do you find that you receive equally great robust support from your workplace, being in a developing country, as you mentioned? Please, Dr. Nupur.
To have an ecosystem around you, you as a person should be convinced. The conviction, your idea, whatever work you choose, should be so convincing enough for you to pursue, and you to convince others that it should work at the first place. And once that is in first place and you are moving around it, you develop an ecosystem everywhere around. So likewise in home, in the office itself, in the organization, when I joined my organization in 27, I came with an idea, just an idea and a small project. And it is, you have to work, initial steps the women has to take firmly, with conviction, with lot of hard work. And as I said earlier, prioritizing is very important. And you can just have 2 focuses or maximum 3. You cannot have 4 or 5 things at a time. So when my children were young, so teaching them till daytime teaching, so it's a commitment. So when I teach them, I sit with them, and if they are working on something parallelly, I'm also very quickly. So you have to develop a few traits within you to increase your capacity, to enhance your efficiency. In small time, you can do fast work, you can do more efficiently. So all these things you have to develop in yourself. And this way, when you work in an organization, slowly and steadily, you develop a system in your organization, and your organization also reward you once you are successful at one step, then another, and then another. Then organization have that faith in you, and then organization also gives you the role and responsibilities one after the other. So this is how it goes both ways, hand in hand.
Thank you so much, Dr. Nupur, for the insight. So I pick up 2 important words from what you said: the tricks and ecosystem that you develop within yourself. So then that shall influence the environment that you are working at. And also that's how you achieve the prioritization of your work-life balance. We have another question for Professor Zhao Hong. Based on your experience in China, do you think that women in the academic world in China are treated and viewed similarly to how they are viewed in other parts of the water industry in China? And how would you describe the dominant view of women working in the water industry in academics as opposed to the industry? Please, Prof.
Yeah, thank you for the question. Yeah, in fact, in China, the women are treated equally in academic career as men. But the problem is that, the family generally in China, we think that the women should take the responsibility of taking care of kids. Therefore, compared to men, women spend much more time in family. And according to my experience, although the female are as brilliant as male or even more brilliant than male when they were students. However, in China, most of the well-known academic researchers in water sector are male. I think for IWA, if you can set up some program to help the growth of women, it will be great. Yeah,
Right.
Yeah. In fact, the women is facing many challenges. For example, the balance challenges between work life and family life, and also the networking opportunities compared to men. You know, when the male professors or the males meet together, they can drink liquors, but most of the women are not good at drinking, and this may limit their networking with male professionals. Another problem is that, generally the female is difficult to, when they met some challenges or some fields, it's difficult for them to grow up. Yeah, nowadays I have many opportunities to evaluate performance of the young researchers in China. I found that many women are afraid of failures. Once they had some failures, it's difficult for them to become, optimized, or they grow up. Yeah. So I have written one book, and I have also set up a class several years ago for women researchers in my university, and to help them to polish their research skills. Yeah,
right.
That's all.
Thank you, Prof. I think you mentioned something about for IWA to set up or to prepare a pathway or chart a course for IWA women professionals in China for their growth in this career. So that is something I think IWA should take up and consider. Thank you so much for your answer. And may I have Jillian? We have a question for Jillian here. And I really like how you describe when you said you are a better mother, when you got that work-life combination managed, and you are a better employer as well when you got all this sorted. And then we are interested to knowing more about how difficult it is for women switching from a different industry to water industry, like you said, based on your experience. And what would be your motivation for women to take this kind of risk as they have climbed a ladder in another career sector and then moving on to another career? And how might they embrace this change, please?
Thank you. I think for me, the roles that I had in the electricity sector ultimately required me to think about how businesses operated and how they responded to economic signals, to the regulatory environment, and to have to make some strategic decisions. I mean, I'm not an engineer. I wasn't somebody who was, making decisions about whether you were requiring a particular transformer or something else within the electricity sector. So my perspectives were, I was, for some people I was probably considered to have the high level perspectives within the electricity sector. And so for me, what I was doing when I was saying, I think I can offer something to the water sector in New Zealand, I was saying that I know that we needed to have regulatory change. I knew that there was a need for structural change in the water sector. And so I was saying, I've got some experiences that I can translate from one utility business to another. Because at the end of the day, electricity assets and water assets are long-lived assets. You know, we spend a lot of money and we invest in them, and they are for the well-being of our communities. And so I was saying, I can translate. You know, I might not know the details of a drinking water plant or a wastewater plant or the ins and outs of wetlands, but I can translate what I do know. And I was hoping, because at the end of the day, when you do change sectors, you hope that you've got the right skills.
Right. Thank you so much, Gillian. So the three keywords from all of the three speakers from the first session would be, I think, tricks from Dr. Nupur, and then translate from Gillian, and transform from Professor Xiao Hong for IWA to take up something to consider for China. So thank you very much, ladies, Dr. Nupur, Gillian, and Professor Xiao Hong for your wonderful insights for the first session. Moving on to the second session. We have our second panelist from Japan, Malaysia, and Australia. So while each of the speakers are sharing their experiences, I would like to welcome everyone listening to please kindly post your question in the Q&A box, and the speakers will try and answer this as we go along. And I have seen some questions as well in the chat box, and some of them have been answered by the speakers and panelists. And I would like to also invite our panelists to please kindly have a look at the Q&A box, so you could probably type in your answer on that platform. So, ladies and gentlemen, my pleasure to be introducing our first speaker for the second session from Japan, Ginaline Robel Marzan, Brazil. And she works for Tokyo Water, which supplies water for the entire Tokyo metropolitan area. And she concurrently serves in two sections, namely pipeline management and international business solution. And prior to working in Japan, she works at the University of Philippines, Los Banos Foundation Incorporated and Institute of Agriculture and Biosystems Engineering. So she helped draft the Philippine National Irrigation Master Plan 2020 to 2030 and develop help test smart irrigation water technologies. So the question that we have for Ginaline today, please tell us a little about the career journey that caused you to move from the Philippines to Japan. Please, Ginaline, floor is yours. Yes, we can see you.
Hi, thank you very much for this opportunity, IWA. I'm very honored to be part of this Women and Water webinar. So hello, everyone. Happy International Women's Day to all of you. And I'm Ginaline Brazil. I'm currently a civil engineer working in the water supply systems in Japan, but I also work for the agricultural and irrigation sector of the Philippines as an agricultural and biosystems engineer back then. So where I came from, the Philippines has abundant water resources, but we keep facing water stress every year. So the national water availability was below the capita threshold, and there are some places with no access to basic water supply. So we may think that these conditions in my country pose a challenge to develop and improve the water industry more, and of course require involvement of much more water professionals. But the truth is that even though the need and demand is there, and there are existing regulations to increase the youth and women involvement in water sector, the opportunities open for this sector of water professionals is very few, much more especially for women and young professionals. So from my own career perspective, I was fortunate enough to have opportunities in the research field. However, in the Philippines, contractualization still persists. And having responsibilities on my own, I feel the need to have a stable job. And this frequent job changes due to contractual work, I have struggled to advance my career. So I have passion for water, be it in agriculture, fisheries, or water supply. So I feel the need to find ways to continue advancing my career and significantly contribute to the global water sector. And I took interest in countries with developed water systems, such as Japan. So, Japan has few water resources, but they managed to be one of the most efficient and advanced countries when it comes to water sector. They have nearly 100% coverage nationwide and only 3% non-revenue water loss, which is the lowest globally. So I feel learning from these developed countries, how did they achieve these feats despite the disadvantages, could make me grow as a water professional. That way, I think I could advance my career, continue to serve in the water sector, and possibly be able to give back to my home country in the future. Now, I am working in one of the biggest water solutions in Japan, and in here, I realized that the situation is kind of same, but also different from the Philippines. So the struggle in my country is that there are less opportunities for women and young professionals. But in here, young professionals are given much more career options. So the Japanese education system actually enables students before they graduate to secure jobs, which I feel the youth have both options and opportunities to choose their career paths, which is admirable and should be in the rest of the world. However, I also noticed that when it comes to women involvement in the utilities, the rate is only low. Statistically speaking, it is only 18.4%, and this is combined for water, gas, and electric utilities. I also observed firsthand that there are lesser women involved in the water sector here. So when I was a graduate student, there are only few girls in the department. And in my company, the ratio of full-time employees, especially the female, both the employees and managers, is only roughly 20 and 15% respectively. Of course, yesterday also, I joined a water and environment conference. I could only count how many women are there. So it is so few. So according to various sources, these low numbers may be attributed to maybe traditions or cultural norms, work pressures, insufficient benefits, or preference of the majority of women to other sector jobs such as medical care and welfare, and also service industries. The thing is, though having low number of female water workers here in Japan, the good point is that the Japan not only recognized the need for women participation, but they also do continuous efforts to increase women engagement. So for example, some utility companies, including mine, there is action plan for promoting women participation. They target to increase the recruitment of female employees, regular the contractual female employees to full-time employees, increase the number of female managers, and as well re-employ other female employees who left the jobs due to childcare. And of course, this is one reason why I was motivated to contribute to water sector through participation in this company.
Right.
So I think these steps is primarily due to deep-rooted culture of respect of Japanese people. So I feel that in the future, this can help lessen the gender disparity to help in the contribution for more proactive water profession, particularly in hard-skilled jobs such as civil engineering and other sectors of the water-related industry. So honestly, for me, I feel relieved that I have joined a workplace that is age and gender exclusive. So I hope in the future, all the young professionals also, particularly women, we will all be experiencing the same things. From my experience in both developing and developed countries, I think women and youth involvement in the water sector is still low. So I feel we need to create much more opportunities.
I think that's a very, very excellent perspective from young water professional, having worked in the Philippines and then a change career working in Japan now, and then contributing a lot to the major decision making of the sectors, both in your home country as well as your working country at the moment. Thank you, Jeneline, for your insights. And I think we will have some more questions for you during the Q&A session. And moving on to our next speaker from Malaysia, it's my pleasure to introduce Dr. Salma, who has a PhD in water management in deep pit soils from Malaysia. She has been working with the government of Malaysia for over 30 years and work as Economic Affairs Officer in Water for the UN ESCAP, ESCAP in Bangkok. So as a government officer, she has been serving as the Director General at the director of the irrigation and the director of the river engineering of Malaysia in Malaysian ministries. She has been very active in the international water community and being involved in water environment partnership in ASEAN, and her role as a founding member and chair of the Agua Jaring Southeast East Asia affiliated to CAPNET and UNDP. So Dr. Salma, very happy to have you here, and I hope the rain subsides now that you can connect to us successfully. As a senior professional doctor, having more than 30 years of experience in the Malaysian government, and afterwards, member of boards, various committees, holding various advisory roles, have you ever faced challenges related to age discrimination? And if you have, or if you haven't, could you please share with us some example? Please, Doctor, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Dr. Hayati, for the introduction. Yes, I've been working for, I think, up to now, including after I have retired, a total of 45 years in the water sector, and I touched 70 this year. But in all sincerity, I must admit that I never felt being discriminated because of my age. You know, I think it's more, if you ask me, the question on how well I can deliver as an engineer, civil engineer, as a woman, especially when I graduated was 1977, and there was not many engineers in my class. There were only 2 ladies, and when I worked, the first time I worked, the first year, there was probably 2, and then she left, and that leaves me 1. And now there are 2/3 of the 600 over engineers in my former departments are ladies. Really, I do not feel that I was discriminated because of my age. I mean, when throughout my career, I've been called upon to give comments and things like that. And when I applied to the United Nations ASCAP in Bangkok, I was also accepted. And no issues on age was being discussed. So especially, I think the reason is that in our culture in Malaysia, and I believe in the whole of Asia, age is something that is connected with having more experience and therefore more wisdom, which is a plus to us as we age. Unless, of course, one misbehave. Maybe you lost your memories, or things slowly has been forgotten and things like that. Probably up to a point, this will become a problem. And but to me, at the moment, it's not yet, thankfully. Fortunately also. So examples of how I felt that I was not discriminated because of my age. When I came back from United Nations ASCAP at the age of 61, I was invited to chair the Academy of Science Malaysia Water Committee. Mind you, the committee that I'm chairing, all of them are men. And there are many younger than me and also older than me. I was just being picked up, and I'm grateful for that opportunity and exposure to be able to bring project to the Academy of Sciences that was commissioned by the Economic Planning Unit of the Economic Ministry of Malaysia, the water sector transformation, which started in 2021 in 2nd May 2020 and ends up in 31st December 2021. I was already 60 plus then. That the other examples that I can also share is the fact that I continue to be invited despite my age. I think generally when I go even since I graduated in 1977, not that many women then. Now there are, but still to sit in various boards, committees, even after my retirement. So there is that respect. As I said, for us in Malaysia, the age gives more experiences, brings with it more experiences and more wisdom. And concurrently, I have also been frequently invited, even now, to present papers, and which include keynote addresses. And the reasons I think is that there is the need for us, if we are interested in our job, to keep up to date with current development in the area that you are interested in. In my case, is shows some changes that we are involved. People can sense whether you are looking at things like that. The third is, of course, need to focus.
Yeah, Dr. Salma, you are breaking up a bit.
The best that you can.
Okay. Yes. Thank you, Dr. Salma. Okay. Thank you, Dr. Salma. I think I got your 3 points, which is for us to learn from the experience and those who have much experience in the water sector, and also age is not a hindrance for us to keep learning and to keep contributing to the water sector. And then to also just do your best in whatever that you do, no matter whichever age limit you are. So age is not a limitation. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much, Dr. Salma. And moving on to the only thorn among roses attending today's webinar as a speaker, but we have a video from Mr. Meg McCafferty from Australia. And he is the Managing Director of Yarra Valley Water, Melbourne, Australia. With an extensive career in the water sector, Pat has been significantly involved in addressing critical challenges such as climate change, rapid population growth, affordability of essential services, and changing customer expectations. As the Deputy Board Chair of WaterAid Australia, Chair of the Thriving Communities Partnership, and past Chair of the Water Services Association of Australia, he is a passionate advocate of the Sustainable Development Goals and a signatory to the UN Global Compact. And I think our team at IWA is ready to have his video on board. Please, thank you.
Hi everyone, sorry I can't be with you in real time, but I just want to say I really appreciate the opportunity to share some perspectives around the challenges and insights that I've learned along the way associated with the contribution of women in the water sector. And firstly, I thought it might be worthwhile providing a little bit of context about Yarra Valley Water. Diversity and inclusion is a fundamental part of our organisation strategy. So we service over 2 million people in the suburbs of Melbourne, and quite simply our philosophy is the more we look like our customer base, the better we're going to be at serving them. And that means at all levels of the organisation as well. And so, you know, from a gender perspective, we've been working really hard for several years on being very deliberate about gender representation in our organisation. So we have now over 60% of our board being female, including an Indigenous Australian board member. 50% of our executive team is female, and I'm really pleased to say we've just reached our target of 50% of all of our people leaders being female. One of the other things we've just done is completed a gender pay gap analysis, and I have to say the initial result surprised me. It didn't surprise our female leaders, but it surprised me. and it was material enough for us to start taking immediate action, and we're now on track to really closing that gap as well. But that was a really important part of the journey. But anyway, I've been asked to answer 2 questions. The first one being, globally, the water industry, like many industries, is dominated by men. What attitudes and behaviours will men need to change in order for women to be able to bring all of their talents, knowledge and ability to their jobs in the water sector? So I think the first thing I would say is that men are absolutely critical to solving gender equality issues in the workplace. It's not an issue for women to solve on their own, and that's really important. And of course, men are overrepresented in leadership roles everywhere, and we'll make slow progress unless we really do the work to educate our folks on the experiences of women at work in their life, the barriers that exist for women entering, remaining and progressing in their careers. And I'm a huge believer in lived experience and listening to the voice of lived experience, and we do that for all of our programs. And I was thinking about some of the work that we've done to support the financially vulnerable. We have to sit down and listen to the people who have those experiences and how we can support them better. Customers who experience domestic violence, for instance, and those sorts of other things that occur in society, and how listening to that voice of lived experience can actually inform us in terms of what we can do to be better in serving them. So the other thing that men can do is to be really deeply open-minded about questioning about their own career trajectory and maybe some of the advantages they've had by virtue of being male, and then work to remove some of those barriers that help, so that women can progress within organisations. Part of that is not overvaluing things like tenure and experience, because women may not have had access to certain experiences in their career due to the circumstances and just the way society operates. Paying attention to the dynamics in the workplace, the power dynamics, is really important, and having to look deep within ourselves as men to understand the unconscious bias and gender norms that may drive how we navigate through the world and our work. Some practical strategies, things like holding meetings at inclusive times. We've changed our meetings so that we don't have executive meetings when school drop-off and pickups are on, for instance. Men speaking last and practicing speaking last instead of first, and really ensuring that the meeting room is a safe place for women to really express their views, and to reinforce that and to lift women up in terms of their meaningful contributions, and also not to step over the behaviours that undermine the voice of women in the room. And finally, just providing safe places for men and women to just have a conversation about all of this, to talk about their experience and explore the decades of research around gender norms and the barriers that gender norms create for women in the workplace, and empowering men to see the important role that they actually have to create inclusive practices. And this could be around hiring, retaining and promoting women and such. And, including the conversation is on the agenda of the executive team as well. Second question I had was, what can water organisations contribute in terms of change practices and policies to make it easier for women to bring all of their talents, knowledge and abilities to their work in the water industry? Well, the first thing I would say is being very upfront and visible about your commitment. So making a stand and embedding this into strategy as well. So leadership commitment, and a very obvious and overt leadership commitment, is super important. Embedding it in the strategy and backing it up with goals and targets. As they say, what gets measured gets done. So what boards, CEOs and executive teams focus on always gets organisation-wide attention. So making sure it's embedded in that. Tackling inequality is layered, and you need to address all the layers if you're going to be serious about making change. So there's casual barriers like fighting the attitude that the problem is already solved, or that the problem doesn't even exist. Other attitudes like this is an issue for women to resolve, they just need to be more confident or assertive, and know how to play the game. Other barriers like people not paying attention to the dynamics between people. Some of those other more overt barriers, the unconscious bias that occurs in recruitment, resource allocation, promotion decisions, people recruiting mini versions of themselves, which is always a bit of a trap. And really, this is squarely in the realm of people managers and them focusing on that, of course, with the help of HR teams and executive teams. But if you're not deliberate about this, it won't happen. And we noticed that during COVID, that some of our hiring, we started to go backwards on that target of getting 50% female leadership in all of our people leader positions. You know, it was sort of like a rubber band. It was pulling it back because we weren't being delivered or talking about it as overtly. So that's really important. You know, obviously ensuring your position descriptions, your job descriptions, take into account the confidence versus competence gap that exists for women when applying for roles, and removing all the masculine language that quite often comes into play. You know, introducing blind shortlisting, making sure you've got balanced shortlist and balanced interviews, and redesigning roles to focus on future performance, not necessarily past performance. And then finally, the structural, you know, barriers to, you know, to this, including that people thinking that, you know, we keep having to make the business case for being inclusive. It's 2024, you know, we've got to move on well beyond that, and we shouldn't be having to convince people of the why. But some practical strategies, you know, focusing on flexible work and on output, not attendance. Being genuine about that, and I've noticed that, you know, the more we do it and offer it to people, the more people are taking advantage of that. And there's always been, you know, for us, we've still got to deliver it for the community. We're providing essential service, and what I've noticed is, you know, the more we pursue this agenda, reduce the inequality, increase our diversity, increase our flexibility, we're still getting good results. In fact, we're getting even better results, and that's really important, obviously. You know, things like the pay audit was really important to do that, because, you know, women's pay can be skewed by the roles that they're coming into, but also, you know, the power imbalance again, and attitudes around negotiation. You know, men will come in more confident about negotiating a better pay outcome than sometimes, you know, women will do, and those sorts of things. So really important to address that. Actively pursuing balance in all of your leadership teams. Of course, it's a no-brainer when people see what's possible and they see themselves or people like themselves in leadership positions. You know, that does make a huge difference. Not relying on traditionally female operated functions to boost your numbers up, like, you know, the call center or human resources. And equally so, remembering in those functions to actually try to get the gender equality there too, because again, this is about delivering the end outcomes for our customers, and the more we look like them in all functions, the better off we'll be. Creating pipelines and pathways for women in traditionally entry-level roles to move to the technical and more higher paid roles, and being clear and deliberate about that. We do a lot of secondments, a lot of rotations, a lot of internships to make sure that we've got those opportunities presenting themselves. And of course, thinking about the role of your organisation and working beyond the walls of your organisation to attract women to the industry. And we've been focusing here in Melbourne, but also nationally in Australia, to be an employer of choice and an attractive place for women to see, you know, that they can be the best that they can be and achieve everything they're aspiring to in our sector. That's probably enough for now, but it's really all about keeping the conversation going. I hope that's been helpful. Thanks very much, everyone.
Thank you very much, Pat, for the online recording. And I pick up some few things that Pat has mentioned, such as removing the masculine voices, and then removing and smashing the barriers that to promote women's inclusivity in the water sector. So thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, as we proceed to the Q&A session, may I invite all of the panelists to please kindly switch on their video for a group photo session before we move on for the panel 2 Q&A session. And I'll do the screenshot for everybody today. And everyone is smiling, so just please keep smiling, and I'll do a 1, 2, 3 and snap shot. May I ask if Cheryl is around still, or Ms. Ratna, if you can also join us in the group photo, and Professor Xiao Hong as well. So if you are able to switch on your video, I'll just wait for a couple of moments. Hi, Cheryl. The backbone of the webinar, Cheryl and Arlinda, who is 4 a.m. in Toronto, so she can't join us today. Okay, Prof. Hong, thank you. And Rachna, are you able to switch on your video? We'll just carry on with this one. Okay, 1, 2, 3, smile, please. And thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, over back to you, Ludmila, for the next Q&A session. Thank you.
Yes, I also would like to thank all of the presenters of the second panel. It was really great to hear experiences from Japan, of course, combined with Philippines as well, Malaysia and Australia. We had a question in our Q&A box for Ginaline Robel, Brazil. During the panel discussion, you mentioned the importance of diversity and inclusion in the water sector, particularly regarding opportunities for women. As some actively involved in civil engineering at Tokyo Waterworks, could you elaborate on how the organization promotes gender diversity and supports the advancement of women in the industry? Additionally, what advice would you offer to aspiring female engineers looking to enter the water sector? Jenaline?
Hi, thank you very much, Rasa-san, for that wonderful question. Actually, earlier, I was going to discuss all the details of that. So I've mentioned earlier in Tokyo Waterworks, there is an action plan and there are a lot of initiatives to increase the involvement of women and also young professionals and to promote inclusivity and gender diversity. So from my experience, the effect of these initiatives that I've experienced is that, for example, during work, either in office or field setting, I could experience the same experiences as our male counterparts, but also in training opportunities. And I feel that women employees here are treated with respect. So they can voice out opinions freely. They were asked for their suggestions, and they can act also as trainers, even with senior employees who just transfer to some divisions, for example. And also, there are a lot of benefits for women, for single mothers, and benefits for childcare also that is predominantly needed by us women professionals. And also, as you said, what advice would I offer to aspiring female engineers looking to enter the water sector? Actually, right now, what I've said earlier is that there's lack of opportunities for women. So if we keep on doing these initiatives for women to enter the water sector, if we increase it and not just say that there are already existing laws and regulations or there are even programs and projects, I think we need to increase the women and youth audience of these projects or programs. I think even if there are already programs of this, implementing it more vigorously, publicizing it more strongly, encourage more actively these women professionals, because it is not enough that these programs are just there to say that we have projects for the women and youth to join the water sector. I think it needs to reach the target audience. And we need to ensure that women and young professionals can definitely enter the sector for us, women in youth, to help and collaborate and contribute significantly to the global water sector. So that's my answer, if I answer your question correctly.
Yeah, for sure. I think that is quite insightful vision and advice for all of us. I believe some kind of creating platforms, even it's online or something like this webinar, when we are sharing the challenges and we are sharing the ways how you overcame that should be also helpful, because I mean, what I've noticed, you are quite young professional, right? And you have rich experience, like even though to let's say reflect on my side, I'm sure like you were like actively searching for that, right? It's not happened by itself to join like a more, let's say, more inclusive or company, right?
Yes, actually, thank you for that. And also, I just want to add that all young women and aspiring professionals who cannot find opportunities to fit in, I think my only advice is for them to keep moving, because our own motivation to help improve the global water sector, I think, is the key. So we can either go to places that has more inclusivity, that's more safer, more opportunities for us to make the change ourselves. Or we can also struggle to open those opportunities, not only for us, but also for the future generation. So I think with our little efforts, we could be making the water sector a more gender and youth inclusive anywhere in the world.
Thank you, Jenaline. I have a question to Dr. Salma. I know you're working on water sector transformation by 2040 in Malaysia. What is the focus or what is the inclusion of women in this transformation? Could you please share that?
Thank you. One thing about Malaysia, since the education system do not limit women from taking part in whatever interested area you want to do. So within the water sector transformation 2040, we have among the 1,000 people completing that study, sufficient women, it's probably not compatible, with the number of women already in the sector in Malaysia. So as I said just now, within my old department, you are looking at 1/3 of the engineers, 600 over. That means 200 over are already women. So within the whole of Malaysia, because water sector transformation is a study that is commissioned to the Academy of Sciences by the Economic Planning Unit of the Ministry of Economy. So definitely there is no limitation to how many women or how many men that should be doing the study. So it's up to the lead, the chair. For example, we have 4 areas that we are focusing, and that chair, one of them is a woman, is well known, I think, in the climate change adaptation world over, in Professor Joy Pereira. If those who are in the climate impact adaptation would know her. Then there are people below that line who many of them are women. So really, we do not limit the women in Malaysia in these areas. That is my perception. And I've been with the water sector for years. Sometimes it's not that they are limiting us, but we just take ourselves out, because for some of us, we need to prioritize young families, and there is no support within that group. So they go out for a while, but they come back in the service sector. So anyway, in Malaysia, we cannot afford to not take in women. We only have 30 million, 32 million. If you just take women, if you just focus on the men, you're talking about focusing on what? 10 million to develop a country which is about, 330,000 square kilometers. That's huge. We don't have a choice. So, the women power is important. Not because they are women, but just because they are the citizen of Malaysia. That's my answer.
All right, thank you very much. Well, what I understood from you that Malaysia is quite progressive in terms of women inclusion into the sector, right? And of course, they need to be included in the development of the country because they are part of the country, right? Not only like the part of the sector. Yes, thank you very much. And I would like to add the comment from Pat's presentation, what I've noticed, that it was important what he mentioned, that paying attention to the dynamics between people, like companies or organization need to do that. Also, like make it inclusive, for example, inclusive in times, working schedules, and also it's also important to have safe spaces to discuss in case if there is like any challenges or issues, so it can be openly like said, and I don't know, some solutions can be found. As for now, I would also open the floor for general discussion. In the chat box, I also noticed there is some questions to Gillian. How can women effectively communicate and highlight their contribution to the water sector? If you can elaborate on that.
Thank you. So I guess at one level, it can be as simple as putting your hand up in a meeting and making sure that you're able to express an opinion. Or it might be, can I take part in a particular project or an initiative? Something that gives you the, if you're seen to be putting your hand up, then people, even if you're not right that particular one, then people realize, you know, your other team members, your managers, etc., they know that you're interested, they know that you're keen. And then, I mean, obviously, as a water association, we'd run conferences, and so I'd be encouraging you to, you know, submit an abstract to present a paper, or submit an abstract for a poster, you know, or even just asking a question at a conference. All of those things, you know, I think are a really important piece to think about.
All right, thank you very much for your input about that. Overall, maybe any other speakers would like to elaborate on communication of the, let's say, contribution of women to water sector?
Does anybody would like to add anything or any remarks to the question on Q&A box? And also, Ludmila, if I may remind the speakers or our panelists today, if you have any documents that you wish to share with the participants, please kindly send us the document. So IWA will then do the honor to share any documents that you wish to share with the participants through the IWA email today. And for the participants, if you have any further questions that may not be answered, or you have further questions upon completion of the webinar today, please also do email IWA your questions to be responded by the speakers separately. And a report is to be produced by the IWA and be distributed to all based on these questions. Thank you.
Yes, I'm not sure like if anyone will be adding anything, so I think we will be moving to next. IWA prepared nice collaborative invitation, so we would like to share it with everyone.
In the world filled with boundless opportunities, there is one investment which stands above the rest, is the investment in women.
As we strive for progress and inclusivity, it's crucial to recognize the untapped potential that lies within the talents, skills, and ambitions of women.
When we invest in women, we are not only investing in individuals, but in the collective strength of our communities and the prosperity of our societies.
True progress is not measured by how far some of us have come, but how equitable and inclusive the journey has been for all.
Power of collaboration cannot be overstated. When women come together, share ideas, and work collaboratively, innovation flourishes and barriers crumble.
The impact of investing in women goes beyond the workplace. It reaches our homes, shaping future generations and instilling values of equality, resilience, and empowerment.
IWA's ambition is to create a world in which every woman can thrive, whether as a water sector professional or as a woman empowered with access to water, regardless of where she lives.
At IWA, we work towards a water-wise future with opportunity and respect for all.
Invest in women. महिलाओं को सशक्त बनाएं.
Invista em mulheres.
Kuwekeza kwa wanawake.
Investi nelle donne.
投资于女性.
Invierta en mujeres.
Mai impuntu eneyehiasa.
سرمایه‌گذاری روی زنان.
Investissez dans les femmes.
IWA, working for a future where every woman has the opportunity to reach her full potential.
With this, I also would like to share some future upcoming webinars, what will be held by IWA, for example, water and sanitation jobs, bringing the skill gap. What is planned to be held on 20th of March 2024. And as well, of course, the 19th IWA Leading Edge Conference of Water and Wastewater Technologies, what will take place in Essen, Germany during 24th to 28th June 2024, and our big event, World Water Congress and Exhibition. I think the registration is open, and early bird registration is also available. Yeah, and if you are interested to become a member, you can use this code to get a 20% discount and use all of the benefits being a member, different knowledge materials or events, webinars, and everything can be available for you if you become a member. So to close, I would like to say that women's contribution to the water sector will help to fill gaps and support solving the challenges in the Asia-Pacific region in the future, I mean, currently and in the future. And of course, it will have impact on other regions. And potentially, it can be extended in the numerous ways, from inclusion into water engineering, operation and maintenance and water and sanitation systems, to environmental and hygiene education, for example. And of course, it is important to work collaboratively, embracing a contribution of both men and women for reaching the most effective and sustainable environments for life. If Nur Hayati would like to add anything, please go ahead.
Yes, and lovely video by IWA, by the way. And I would like to chime what Ludmila has said by mentioning again that during the IWA World Water Congress in Toronto, the book Women in Water will be launched, and the Women in Water book came from about the desire to learn more about and ultimately remove those barriers through research and professional development. And the book details the IWA specialist group on sustainability in the water sector's findings, primarily gathered through a series of webinars, including this one as the final series of that webinar and workshops combined with systematic research. So be sure to get your e-version of the e-book. And also, if you are attending the IWA World Water Congress in Toronto, be sure to join us for the launching. And we applaud the work by Cheryl Davis and our colleague Arlinda Abraham Lari and the entire team of the specialist group for making the book happen, and also for making the webinars happen for all of the series. I think that's all from me, Ludmila. Thank you very much, everybody.
Yes, I also would like to thank all of the speakers who found their time and decided to join us today and to share their experiences. I'm always saying, like, the best way to celebrate is to discuss it, right? So thank you very much for your time, and thank you very much for IWA for this platform, and thank you very much for all of the participants who joined. Happy International Women's Day.
Women's Day.
Yeah.
Thank you.